This is the second video debriefing my trip to Roaring Spring yesterday, Wednesday. This is February 26th, I think. Uh, and this one I'm going to call Audrey. I left Mervin's, and something I forgot to tell you about Mervin is he said when I told him about how flimsy that was, and he said, "Why didn't you build it all out of wood?" And I explained, not in detail, that not everybody has this kind of shop. I was trying to make a water wheel that could be done by a common ordinary guy with nothing but a cheap bending brake for the sheet metal. But anyway, he said he had a water wheel. He built one down on the farm, and he used it to, I don't know, generate electricity, I think he said. And I thought, oh, yeah? And I want to know more about that later, but I had to get on my way. So I went into Roy Spring, and I went around the triangle, on my way down to the mill, to the paper mill site, and there I saw Audrey's car right opposite the Danikay Cafe, run, run by her granddaughter, owned by her daughter, uh, and sometimes attended by her great granddaughter. Uh, but anyway, there was her car. But I kind of zoomed past as much as you can zoom on a one way street like that. And because I needed to get down to the paper mill site, I was hoping to have a chance to talk to Jeff Wendell. I wish there could have been a Jeff segment to this debriefing. But I went down there and I parked and I even opened the door. It was unlocked. I went in. I was in his sort of office. I asked if anyone was there. There was nobody there at all. So I left. And in a way, I was a little bit glad because I was in a hurry now to get back up to Danikay's before Audrey would leave. You see, Audrey is 89, I think, 88 or 89. And in the winter, in the worst of the winter, she didn't come to visit her granddaughter at Danikay. She was staying at home. But when she comes, it's usually on a Wednesday, the same day I go. And so I had to kind of go around to get on the right way of the one-way street, and I parked her. And I went in, and Audrey, was just getting ready to leave. There was nobody else there. And it turns out it had been a very slow day for Sheena at the Danikay's Cafe. But but anyway, I said, "Oh, I'm glad I saw you. I missed you this winter. I hadn't seen you in a while. I'd only actually seen her a few times, but I'd been delighted by our conversation." And I said, "I've got a present for you in the car." Or first, I found out. I asked Sheena, "What did you do with that gallon of raw milk? I left last week. I was in a hurry. I didn't have time to explain. What I'd done is I'd left a wide mouth gallon jar, a little bit of clabber in a small jar, a couple tablets of rennet, and a cloth to act as a cheesecloth. I'd put everything in there, and I hoped that she could figure it out because I just didn't have time to talk to her about it. I left it there. That was maybe 2 weeks before. And she had explained, she immediately took it to her grandmother, I think, or took it to her grandmother. And so I said, "Well, uh, I've got another gallon for you if you want it." And she insisted she wanted to pay for it, $4, $4. I said, "No way. If you pay for it, you're not getting it. I'm only giving it to you as a gift." She said, "Well, I don't know. It is $4." Uh, but the thing about it is, we got talking. Audrey sat down again. She was just getting ready to drive home, and we got talking. And once we got talking, it was like Audrey almost wouldn't stop. And I loved everything she was saying. But once again, I was kind of on a schedule. But we got talking about that milk and how she used to uh, get raw milk and make, I think she made cottage cheese. but it's a little bit like she'd forgotten how to do it. And I explained, I said, it's easy. You put some rennet in there or some clabber. Neither one of them could really remember the word clabber. And you just let it sit there for a while, and then you heat it up to just so you can put your finger in it and leave your finger in it. Then it's about right. And leave it for a while, and it'll curdle. And then you raise it up to where you can put your finger in it, but you can't leave it. Then it's cooking. That's about the lowest temperature to cook the curds. I explained this all real quick. And then you pour it through a cheesecloth and the whey. And she said, oh, she remembered the whey. She used to drink the whey. It was really good. So it was coming back to her when she did all this stuff. Now her husband didn't like butter. He wouldn't abide butter on anything. And she's widowed now. So during all that time, she wasn't making her own butter, but she was remembering it all. I was having to kind of goad her a little bit, and she mentioned another kind of cheese. I can't remember what it is, but I mentioned ricotta. You can make ricotta cheese, and she uses a computer. She uses YouTube, and I said, there you go. Just go on YouTube and search making cheese or making raw milk cheese or anything like that, making cottage cheese, making ricotta. And there's going to be 100 videos on there to choose from, probably. And she said, well, she'd do that. And so she, and I gave her a little bit, the rennet pills had stayed in at Danikay's. She didn't think to send them along, but I sent her a couple. I said, you just use about half of one of these and put it in there. Well, anyway, this conversation with Audrey, she is as sharp as you could ever imagine. I mean, I'd say for her age, but anyway, she talked about how she used to jet ski. Jet ski, I'm thinking, oh, it was one of her most fun sports, she said. That, and after her husband died, she took to kayaking down rivers. Now she would have been, I don't know how long she'd been widowed, but yeah, she would drive, say, 40 miles away with her kayak inside her van, and I don't know what the rivers are either. But she was talking about all those sporting events she did, and how she lived in Florida for 3 years but didn't like it very much and came home, but sold all her antiques before she went to Florida. She used to have stuff. I mentioned, well, if you want to make hard cheese, then you have to press it, and you can do that with just a weights. But I said, now if you have a lard press, you can use that. She said she had one, and it was perfect. It was all the inside, and it was perfect, but she sold it with the antiques. Well, right there, I have 3 lard presses, and I don't need 2. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, all that, and she used to bake bread. She said, is clabber sort of like a starter for sourdough starter? I said, yeah. It's just the same in a way. And she talked about how they used to share sourdough starter among themselves. And I told her you can go to Fisher's Country Store and buy a little pack of starter if you don't know somebody that has some. Mine isn't really getting there yet, but it's coming close. I got to feed that this morning yet. So I finally had to say I got to go, because she was ready to just keep talking and talking. I was ready to listen. But I also wanted to go on to have my dark beer at the Spring Dam Brewery. And that will bring me to Tim. Bye for now.